Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Dafar Zakia and I'm here for my assignment for speaking for transactional function where I will be practicing conversation gambits. There are 11 conversation gambits, starting the conversation, asking for partner's opinion, agreeing with your partner, having reservation or disagreeing with your partner, asking for clarification, interrupting politely, referring to an earlier point, taking the conversation in a new direction, playing for time, summarizing and ending the conversation. And I'm going to practice each section by speaking each of the gambits. I will be speaking 3 examples for each section. I will start with starting the conversation. The first example is I like to focus on blah 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 in our conversation because blah blah blah. The second one is let us first turn to picture which blah 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 the question of blah blah blah. And the last one is what strikes me first about this whole issue is blah blah blah. Alright, let's continue on to the next section. This is the second section, asking for your partner's opinion or engaging the other person. The first example is there anything you would like to add? The second one is how do you feel about blah blah blah? And the last one is how about you? The next section is agreeing with your partner. The examples is I admit I have to agree with you on this particular point. The second one is you have a point here. And the last one is you are right. It cannot be denied that blah blah blah. This next section is having reservation or disagreeing with your partner. The first example is sorry, but this is not the way I see it. The second one is I see what you mean, but I don't believe blah blah blah. And the last one is well, I don't quite go along with blah blah blah. The next section is asking for clarification. The first example is sorry, could you repeat what you just said? The second one is excuse me, I didn't quite catch that, or what you just said. Do you mean blah 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 or blah blah blah? The next one is did I understand you correctly? Did you mean to say blah blah blah? The next one is interrupting politely. The examples are sorry to interrupt you, but the next one is excuse me, can I just stop you for a moment? And the last one is I apologize for interrupting, but I think you misunderstood me. And then the next section is referring to an earlier point. The examples are what you said earlier was blah blah blah. The second one is I like to come back to a point you made earlier, namely blah blah blah. And the last one is I like to pick up on what you just said about blah blah blah. This next section is taking the conversation in a new direction. The examples are I would like to bring up another issue or let us look at another important issue. The second one is now that we have looked at blah blah blah, let's think of another aspect, namely blah blah blah. And the last one is on top of everything we have said so far, we also need to reconsider the fact that blah 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 or think of blah blah blah. And this section is playing for time. The examples are so what you're basically saying is that blah blah blah, is that right? And the second one is I'm trying to figure out how what you said relates to what we said about blah blah blah. And the last one is let me look at my notes for a second, I want to make sure that blah blah blah. This section is about summarizing, and the examples are we have spent a lot of time talking about blah blah blah, let's see where we agree and where we disagree. The second example is we have looked at all the pictures that deal with blah blah blah, we don't think are suitable because blah blah blah. And the last example is now let's quickly go through the issues again that have been raised. And this is the last section, it's ending a conversation. The examples are: we are almost finished and I would like to briefly blah blah blah. The second one is time is almost up, so we should reach a decision. And the last one, if you are in a debate, I guess we agree to disagree and we will have to blah blah blah. That's all from me. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.